This Prezi will focus on how to understand the guidelines of a paper assignment. First, the Prezi will cover 3 basic writing procedures commonly found in paper guidelines. Second, the specific steps to understand guidelines will be explored. Third, there will be a sample process on how to break down a paper's guidelines. In some cases, instructors will provide topics that tell students exactly what to research or explore. However, it is common for instructors to provide topics that are fairly general, so often it's up to students to narrow the topic and focus of their papers. Most paper topics will require you to answer several questions to ensure you can demonstrate your knowledge of the key concepts and ideas. It is important that you understand the procedures you are given about how the paper is to be written. There are 3 basic writing tasks that are most commonly found in paper topics at the university level. Analysis. The main purpose of analysis is to examine the parts of something in detail, such as a concept, a text, an event, or a set of data. There are 2 main types of analysis. Content analysis is the examination of behavior, data, and written works with regard for the way the information has been communicated. An example is, discuss the causes of World War II. Textual analysis is the examination of written works with regard to what is being said and how the work is being presented. An example is, write about the significance of the title of Charlotte Perkins Gilman's The Yellow Wallpaper. Make sure you address the techniques Gilman uses in presenting her story. Comparison. The main purpose of comparison is to examine the similarities, and sometimes differences, of 2 or more things. Your first step in comparing things is to divide them into parts, and discuss the similarities and/or differences between the parts. For example, if you wanted to compare the sports of hockey and rugby, you would first need to choose your basis of comparison. This will determine the parts you divide the 2 sports into, their similarities and differences, and the reasons for those similarities and differences. For example, will you compare them as competitive sports, as forms of exercise, and/or as recreational activities? Evaluation. The main purpose of evaluation is to determine the strengths and weaknesses of something. Like comparison, evaluation starts with analysis. An example is, evaluate the proposed federal policy on pollution in the Great Lakes on practical grounds. Consider the cost to citizens, the technology used, and the enforcement of government regulations. The assignment guidelines may state which standards, practical ones like cost to citizens, the technology used, and the enforcement of government regulations, to use, or you may have to decide and establish which standards you will use to evaluate a topic. Common standards of evaluation include practical, ethical, aesthetic, and logical. Although most essay topics require that you analyze, compare, or evaluate, these terms may not appear in the topic. Therefore, you will need to think about what the topic actually requires. If you don't understand a key term in a topic, it would be helpful to look it up in your textbook or dictionary. Steps to understanding the assignment guidelines. To begin, read the assignment carefully and make sure you understand everything that is required of you. Look specifically for keywords that communicate the kind of reasoning you should be using. Why, how, evaluate, argue, compare, analyze, and so on. Rather than just skim the list of topics your instructor has given you, take note of what the purpose of the assignment is, how it relates to the entire course, what limitations your instructor has placed on the assignment, and what the instructor's expectations are. To find this information, look at the assignment guidelines, rubric, and course syllabus. If anything is unclear, ask your instructor to explain. Once you understand the relevance of the assignment and what you are expected to accomplish in your paper, select a topic. Choose the one that interests you the most and that you believe will allow you to do your best work. This is not to say that you should always avoid a challenge and pick the topic you think will be the easiest. Doing your best work sometimes means doing work that challenges you. But whatever topic you choose, make sure that you are interested in what you'll be writing about. Here is a sample process for understanding the guidelines of the assignment. After you have carefully read the assignment, and understand its purpose, limitations, expectations, and relation to the course, select a topic. The topic: identify a company that has been responsible for an environmental disaster within the last 10 years. Explain what went wrong and how these errors contributed to the disaster. After you have read the topic, determine what you are being asked to do. Identify the company in disaster, which must be within the last 10 years. State what went wrong. Explain how these errors contributed to the disaster. There are 3 specific parts of this topic that must be answered. So, what next? It would be useful to gather some preliminary research about companies that have been responsible for environmental disasters within the last 10 years. The next Prezi is on gathering preliminary research, so please check it out.